What if the biggest thing holding you back isn't a lack of talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but comfort? What if the real danger isn't failure, but the quiet, steady life of doing just enough to get by? Most people believe that lazy people never become successful. They assume laziness is permanent, something you're born with and stuck with forever. But that isn't true. Laziness is rarely about being unable. More often, it's about habit, comfort, fear, and the absence of a reason strong enough to force change. This is the story of a boy who wasn't weak, wasn't foolish, and wasn't hopeless. He was intelligent, observant, creative. But he was also deeply comfortable, and comfortable, when left unchecked, can slowly become a quiet form of failure. By the time his story ends, you won't just see how one person overcame laziness, you'll understand how habits change, how the mind resists effort, and why failure is often the only force strong enough to wake someone up. His name is Ethan Hale. He grew up in a small farming village, surrounded by rice fields and long, dusty roads. His family lived in a modest wooden house at the edge of the land their ancestors had cultivated for generations. His father was a hard-working man who spoke little but believed deeply in effort. His mother was gentle and patient, but quietly worried about her son. Because Ethan was smart, very smart. He just didn't like to work. Every morning he went to the fields with his father. His job was simple: keep birds away from the crops. Most boys would walk around, clap, shout, throw stones. Ethan preferred what he called efficiency. He set up poles across the field and tied strings between them. By pulling one string from beneath a shady tree, he could shake the poles and scare the birds without moving. Then he would lie on the grass, staring at the sky, thinking of easier ways to do everything. And technically, the job got done, so his father didn't scold him. But inside, his father is worried. What happens when life demands more than clever shortcuts? What happens when effort becomes unavoidable? There's a dangerous kind of laziness that still produces results. It doesn't punish you immediately. It slowly weakens your ability to endure hardships. One summer, the rains didn't come. The soil cracked, the fields dried, and Ethan's father fell ill from exhaustion and fever. Suddenly, Ethan had to manage everything alone: carrying water, repairing irrigation channels, working under a burning sun. For the first time in his life, he faced sustained effort, and he couldn't handle it. He tried. For a few days he pushed himself, but his body wasn't trained for strain. His mind wasn't trained for discipline. He rested too often, delayed too long, assumed he had more time. He didn't. Within weeks, sections of the crops began to die. One night, Ethan sat outside under a sky full of indifferent stars. The wind dragged across the dry land. He felt something heavy settled in his chest: regret. Not the soft kind, the kind that arrives when consequences are real. He realized he had trained himself to avoid effort for years, and now, when effort mattered most, he wasn't ready. This is a moment many people face in life, when comfort collapses and reality steps in. When you realize potential means nothing without preparation. Failure has a unique power. It removes illusions.
The next morning, a royal messenger arrived, announcing a kingdom-wide competition. The winner will receive a chest of gold. For Ethan, this wasn't about pride. It was a lifeline. If he can win, he can save the farm, pay for medicine, start again. For the first time in his life, he had a reason stronger than comfort. Motivation comes rarely from inspiration alone. It comes from urgency, responsibility, love, the realization that doing nothing now has consequences later. Ethan signed up. The villagers laughed. They saw the same lazy boy they'd always known. But they didn't understand something important. Lazy people aren't always unable. Sometimes they're simply untrained, waiting for a reason big enough to force change. After days of travel, Ethan reached the palace. The competition began near a massive lake. Dozens of strong contestants stood ready. When the signal sounded, they dove into the water and began swimming. Ethan didn't. He knew his weakness. He wasn't strong enough to outswim them. Instead of panicking, he observed. Years of avoiding effort had made him a thinker, a strategist. He ran into the forest, gathered branches, tied them into a small raft, and paddled across the lake while others exhausted themselves. He finished just in time to qualify. That night, Ethan realized something. His problem had never been intelligent, it was discipline and purpose. When he had a real goal, his mind sharpened. Laziness often hides unused intelligence, but intelligence without action leads nowhere. The final challenge came the next day. Each contestant had to move a massive wooden block 1 kilometer. They could choose one tool. The strongest grabbed ropes, others chose levers. Ethan stood still and thought. Then he picked a knife. The crowd laughed. Instead of pushing the block, Ethan carved it, slowly, carefully, relentlessly. For the first time in his life, he worked without stopping. Sweat poured, his hands ached. He wasn't avoiding effort anymore, he was redirecting it intelligently. After an hour, the block became a round sphere. He rolled it forward while others struggled to drag theirs. Ethan crossed the finish line first. The lazy boy had won. But the real victory wasn't the gold, it was the transformation. He returned home changed. He understood that laziness is a habit, not an identity. Habits change when there's a strong emotional reason, when you face consequences honestly, and when you redirect your strengths instead of denying them. He didn't become a different person overnight. He remains thoughtful and strategic, but he added discipline. He built routines. Small actions became daily habits. Habits became character. Character became destiny. Years later, Ethan became known not as the lazy boy, but as a capable leader. He told others what he had learned. You don't defeat laziness by hating yourself. You defeat it by giving your life a reason bigger than comfort. Failure didn't destroy him, it awakened him. So if you feel stuck, don't just ask how to stop being lazy. Ask what reason would make you move. What responsibility are you avoiding? What habit are you strengthening every day? Success rarely begins with sudden inspiration. It begins with discomfort, honesty, and a moment when staying the same is no longer an option. Ethan didn't change because he suddenly became hardworking. He changed because life showed him the cost of staying comfortable. And once he saw it clearly, he chose differently. That's how habits change. That's how failure becomes fuel. That's how an ordinary, lazy boy becomes someone extraordinary. Not overnight, but one decision at a time.